Thank you, Secretary Vilsack, for being here. And this is a very important hearing as USDA has gone unchecked over these past 2 years. And speaking with farmers back in western New York and the southern tier and the western end of New York State that I represent, the number one issue facing their operations are skyrocketing energy costs. In addition to this administration's egregious green climate agenda, which also they're getting double hit by the state government, it's putting our farmers' backs against the wall, and frankly, it's going to end up running some of them right out of business. Our farmers have been left with uncertainty in a lot of cases, and what we've gotten so far is very little transparency and honesty from this administration. But I very much am optimistic, that we can change that, as this farm bill will have consequences and impact on how farm policy is shaped over these next 5 years. And with that, Mr. Secretary, I wanted to discuss rural broadband. As you know, rural development in the Farm Bill is critical as it provides funding for infrastructure and small businesses and job creations. I have a very rural district, and across the board, around 75% of my constituents have no access to the internet in a broad way. What steps can USDA take to improve broadband infrastructure to support those that live in very rural areas, including farmers and their agricultural operations?
Congressman, I'm familiar with your area. I went to school in upstate New York and went to law school in Albany and lived in Richfield Springs on Route 20, so I'm familiar with the area. We have a Reconnect program, which is our principal broadband assistance program. It's really designed to provide resources to communities to be able to improve access by increasing upload and download speeds and by providing resources to be able to do that. We received about almost $2 billion from the infrastructure law, and I'm proud to say that we will have all of those resources obligated by this summer. So that money will be available to projects as they unfold, and that should begin to bridge the time when the Department of Commerce and the Federal Communications Commission provide the resources to fill in the gaps, operating through state governments to provide resources for expanded broadband access.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And I know that the department continues to state that the Thrifty Food Plan revaluation was data-driven and science-based. However, the GAO highlighted the key role that policy decisions played. As Secretary, what was your role in making decisions for the revaluation?
Well, this is interesting. I'm glad you brought this up, Congressman, because if we had followed the prescription and direction of the GAO, the increase would have been significantly higher than it was. It would have been roughly 17, 18% higher because they were asking us to use a different data set. We used the more conservative data set in terms of the calculations. When you don't do something for 45 years, it's not surprising that there would be an increase. But you look at basically the consumption patterns of American families. We don't see families spending an hour to an hour and a half preparing food from scratch like we did back in the 1970s. Things have changed. That has to be factored. The choices that people have at the grocery store. We used information from specific purchasing to be able to provide an accurate picture of what a family has to actually go through to be able to provide food for their family. So we very strongly believe that we followed the right prescription, we followed the law, and we came up with the conclusion we came up with. And if we had followed GAO, it would have been even higher.
Now, was it you that authorized the acceleration of the revaluation?
It wasn't. We didn't authorize the acceleration. We were required by law, by the 2008 Food and Farm bill that was passed by Congress, to do this by 2022, which is what we did. Congress directed us to do it by 2022.
According to the GAO, and I know you took some umbrage there, when the USDA accelerated the Thrifty Food Plan revaluation in 21, it was done without having key project management elements in place. And the USDA missed a lot of good opportunities to identify ways to measure project success and to set clear expectations for stakeholders. And secondly, USDA developed a project schedule, but not a comprehensive project management plan that included certain elements such as a plan for ensuring quality through the process. And then thirdly, the agency did not employ a dedicated project manager to ensure that key practices in project management were generally followed. So I'm out of time here, but thank you very much for your testimony. I yield back.